Welcome back to Prepare to Fight Fire podcast. We have a special guest today. All my guests are special. It's funny because every time I say somebody is special in this profession, they say they're just a normal person. And this guy is far from normal. Today we have Anthony Gillan, former U.S. Special Operations capable Marine, 18-year fire service veteran, who is currently lieutenant on Ladder 1. He's an instructor for the Marion County Fire Rescue Training Division, co-lead for the Trunk Company Operations Program, member of the National Rescue Consultants Cadre. He's a member of the instructor cadre at the Orlando Fire Conference. He's a member of the Build Your Culture cadre. And last but not least, he is the Southeast regional representative for the Fools International. Tony, welcome.
Hi, buddy. How's it going?
What's up, man? So this is a repeat. We did an in-person interview, guys, but I had some technical difficulties, which means I did not come prepared, which is ironic because I have a company that's called Prepare to Fight Fire. But nonetheless, we do something, we do it right. So today we're going to dive into an array of topics. And the first topic I want to talk about is how you have kept such a positive mindset, although you've been surrounded by a lot of negative influences. I believe, with what's going on currently, and what, you've endured over the career path, not really being put in an environment where you're going to flourish with like-minded individuals, which a lot of us in the fire service are, engulfed in people who are mediocre, people who are lazy, people who are average. How have you kept your mindset in the position of never changing?
So funny, coming from the military background I had and everything else, I thought I was going to be a cop because, well, I'm good with guns and cops have guns. And then I
Mm-hmm.
realized what cops do and everything else, other stuff, I was like, not for me. I wanted to have not a lone wolf mentality, but having a group of guys around me. So the fire service is that way. Whether it be a 3 or 4 man engine or ladder, that's set up like a Marine Corps fire team. So it works out perfect.
Right.
So came into fire service, had an older lieutenant at the time. Actually, I was older than him, but he'd been on the department for a while. And just not, like, you can tell he's functioning with the same set of skills he'd learned from minimum standards. That was
Mm-hmm.
it. That's why he kept going with it. This guy was a lieutenant at the time. Um, Not the best individual. And what I learned quickly was that you can learn something from everybody, good or bad. You can take something from it. All right. So I realized after a while being under this guy's a lieutenant for almost 6 years, 7 years. And the guys would look to me to do stuff because I was the older guy there. And even though I didn't have the most seniority at the time, but he would just do dumb stuff. And nothing, when you come into the fire service, you have an idea what the fire service is. And there's a moral code and a ideal that you think you're getting into. And
Mm-hmm.
for anybody to take that away from you is wrong because the ideal is still there. Okay. And if everybody holds up that ideal that they thought they were getting into, the fire service would still be that way for everybody.
Right.
So that was one of the things I was faced with was that, and I almost quit over it. I almost quit because this guy didn't show any brotherhood, didn't show any camaraderie. All the things that I thought the fire service was, this guy was showing me that it wasn't there. So I was like, man, I'm
Right.
disgusted with this. That's when I met Ben Flagel, talked to him over the internet and stuff like that. That guy reading that on my passion. This guy's from Fairbanks, Alaska. And I'm like, he works for a one station department in Fairbanks, Alaska. And he's got more brotherhood than we do in a 24 station, 500 man department. You gotta be kidding me.
Right.
So it was kind of blow to me and else, but I figured some things out. Then I started getting with the right lieutenants. Lieutenant Scott Chappell, Lieutenant Tim Moody, um, different guys like that, man, that paved the way for showed me that, hey, I was on the right track and my mindset was right. My thought process of the fire service was correct, you know? So,
So let's talk about that because I truly believe that it's just that, like, when you sign up for this job, you have it on the same pedestal as all the citizens do.
mhm.
Heroic, noble, um, you know, a part of a team, a special group of people, right? A different level, different caliber person it takes to be a firefighter. And then you show up, lo and behold, with guys that have completely obliterated the definition of what it means to be a firefighter. And then you ask yourself, is this it? Right? Is this what we is this where we've we've come to, right? And I want everybody out there that is new, that isn't in that position, to understand that that's not the truth. That that just because you work with people that don't view it as you do does not mean that the way you view it is wrong. It just means that they approach life differently, right? And don't let them jade you. And I believe to keep the mindset strong is to focus on oneself and to better improve yourself daily and not worry about the external circumstances, right? I mean, I think that's what you did. You sought out people who did have the same mindset that you did and gained inspiration and fuel from them.
Well, we have to understand that, like you and I talk about having a standard. Okay, I definitely have a standard, and
Right,
it's definitely more than and higher than a lot of people. The thing about that is everybody likes a standard until they have to try to keep up that standard, and it gets tiring for them, and they want to take shortcuts, and it takes day in and day out effort and integrity and all these different things that you're supposed to have as a fireman. That kind of get weaned away when you're tired or you're on a 48 or an L. So these different things, or through the years, things don't go your way, and then they degrade what you thought you were getting to. And then that person becomes this officer that all of a sudden is teaching newer minds that, hey, don't get your hopes up, kid. Fire service isn't what you think. That's not fair. The fire
right.
service isn't what you think. You
It's
know.
it's it's even more. I think we talked about true class with what happened in Jacksonville when
Mm-hmm.
you left the hospital. Um,
That
and
was incredible.
we're gonna jump into that. So guys, if you don't know, Tony, like I said on the introduction, is an instructor for the training division at his department, and we're not gonna get into the weeds of it, but there was an accident where he suffered a spinal injury, right? And it was to the point where if his fitness and his mindset were not where they are, which is very high, he would have died or been in a wheelchair forever. And long story short, he was at a rehab center in Jacksonville. And Tony, let's talk about what exactly happened at that rehab center, and let's talk about your exit of the rehab center and the true display of what it means to be a firefighter, what the brotherhood really is.
So I went up there, left Ocala, Marion County, from our department. Went up there from the ICU down here and up to the rehab center to try to learn how to walk again. At this point in time, I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't walk. I could barely do anything. Like things that were taken for granted, I couldn't do. So up there to try and make it back on track to do that because, like you said, I suffered a spinal cord injury, and I've got what's called central cord syndrome. It's not as bad as some others, but it a few millimeters off, higher, lower, or more depth, I'd have been paralyzed. So with that being said, go up there. They put me through my paces. Like I was doing, you came and visited. I was doing PT 5 times a day for an hour a day, 5 times a day, 5 days a week, or actually 6 days a week. So the only days I had off were Sundays. So and I
Mhm.
would give it my all. Like I'm leaving, sweating my ass off and stuff, doing stuff because, and they were like, "We've never seen anybody work so hard." And I'm like, I didn't understand that. Why not? My goal is to get better.
Mm.
Um, so when I was there, I got a lot of visitors. People come in and out. One of the therapists said one day, she says, "Wow, we've never seen anybody get as many visitors as you. Like that's unheard of. Like you have guys come in all the time, and everybody has just the most infectious attitude." And I explained to her, I said, "I don't have a huge circle of friends. My friends are very, very tight. But all the friends I have with are just of the utmost character. And there's no quit. There's no pity. There's no quit. There's nothing like that. All they see is progress. That's all my
Mm.
friends see is progress." So when you surround yourself with people with that mentality, it's really hard to fail. It
Right.
really is. Um, so when we were leaving, and else they said, "Hey, everyone's getting ready to leave, get released back down." My whole goal was I'm going to walk out of there, not in a wheelchair. I told him, I said, "I'm not going out in a wheelchair. You've taught me how to walk. I can walk. Am I doing sprints? No, but I can walk upright, and I'm going to hold my head up high. And I'm going to walk out."
Right.
So I go downstairs.
Which,
The
hold on
elevators
a
are
second,
open.
Tony, hold on a second. Before we move, you did not walk in this facility.
No, not at all. I came in by a stretcher. I came in. I actually had our rescue 30 on B shift. I'm an A shifter, so B shift transported me there and dropped me off. Um, at that point, I almost had some other issues go on from then, but anyway, it got worse before it got better.
Right,
So
right. So
so I had to learn
you're
how to do these
walking
things.
out. You're walking out of the hospital.
Elevator's open, and I look out, and there's a sea of firefighters, a sea of uniforms from City of Jacksonville Fire. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a downstairs lobby for a hospital rehab center um, that was just filled too deep of bodies
Mm-hmm.
clapping. And I just took my breath out. I was like, what in the? And so everybody's clapping her now. So I walk out and I actually walked forward to my wife. I was like, what is going on? So as I walk outside, there was a sea of apparatus between rescues, ladders, engines. And from what I understand, they were given a something like 16 apparatus were assigned to a special event in my name that day from the fire chief in the city of Jacksonville. First truck in line was a tiller, ladder one for the city of Jacksonville, which isn't anywhere near where the rehab center is. They took
Right,
them
right,
out
right.
of moved them all the way over. So the captain or the ladder, lieutenant ladder one says, "Hey man, I understand you're lieutenant ladder one." And the A goes, "Well, pleasure to meet you. I'm the lieutenant of ladder one here." He says, "I wanted to be the first truck in line because that's the truck you're on." Man, that hit me in the field of something fierce.
Yeah, that
And
fucking
just
gives me
everybody
goosebumps, man.
was, yeah, and everybody was just, so when you hear people say, and I said it in a little thing on YouTube, on the video when people recorded me, I said, for everybody that says brotherhood is dead, you're wrong. And if you don't have it, it's because you're not putting into it,
Oof.
you know? But we've said it before, is everybody joins the fire department, they have this ideal, they get issued bunker gear, you get a t-shirt, you get a union sticker, and everybody's like, cool, I get brotherhood for free now. Bring it. Bring on the brotherhood. It doesn't work that way. I hate to tell you.
So let's talk about how it does work. Let's talk about um well, how does it work? How does the brotherhood work? Because I was brought up with the thought process that um you can't be the person that always takes.
Right. So it's when you try to explain brotherhood to a civilian, it's really difficult, as you well know,
Right.
because you search for words that people and they're like, you tell them a certain word and they go, you're like, man, how do I explain this? And it's really hard. It's because it's not a tangible thing. So it's a spirit you have inside you to do better by your brother or sister firefighter when they call, to be
Mm,
by their side, to where that St. Florian's cross you have on your uniform means something.
hmm.
And it should mean something deeper than what that little shirt says. And it's just you being there in spirit, mind, body. And you're going to help. You're going to help that person's family. All right. When I got hurt, there's so many people outpouring for Cheryl and I. We had our chaplain was coming mowing our lawn. You know, little things like that. All these different little things were happening. People would come up to take me to doctor's appointments if Cheryl was busy or needed a break. You know, they were Tony sitting is what they called it. You know, so but it's just something. So the funny thing about that was somebody made the comment was, well, how come he's getting a better representation of it than, say, this is going to hurt someone's feelings, my husband did when he got hurt.
Right.
And they wanted to make an evil playing field. And my wife turned around and told him, she says, well, how engaged was your husband in the fire service? How much did he put into it? If he didn't put anything into it, he's not getting anything out of it. So my
Right.
wife, who's not a firefighter, said that, well, of course, some people got their feelings hurt, you know, and that's okay. But
Right.
but she let them know, look, you've got to put into stuff. You've got to end up train guys, take guys under your wing, be real, build trust, and put effort into this career and this job, and not just Marion County, any department, any training you go to. You're representing what the ideal of being a firefighter is.
Right.
So,
Man, it's crazy because I truly believe just that, right? You expect nothing and you give everything. And when the day comes, because anybody listening to this that says, I don't want to be a part of the union, I don't need the brotherhood, you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea. We on planet Earth have always been a part of a tribe. If you look from the beginning of time, anybody that was by themselves died, right? Like you need to be a part of a group. You have to have a tribe. And luckily enough, the fire service has the brotherhood. And that's has nothing to do with men or women. That's just what it's called. And you could fight me or disagree, whatever. But the brotherhood is just that. It's giving everything and expecting nothing. And then the one day that something happens, because life happens to all of us, you will get an outpour of support that you will never think you deserve, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at it like I give, and one day I will take. I look at it like I expect that from everybody else, right? I expect everybody else to give. I expect everybody else. It blows my mind, this thought process of, hey man, I need help. I've got some family issues. I need a day off. And the person says, well, there's going to be overtime that day, so I'm going to just work the overtime. And it's
Right.
like, that's a simple point in case of there's going to come a day when you need help, and your action on that day of wanting to work overtime instead of helping a brother out bites you in the ass, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
people don't look at it like that. They're me, greed. Fuck the world, fuck everybody. I'm all by myself, and that's fine. That's fine. You can have that. You can have that take. You can have that position. But when shit goes south, don't expect the brotherhood to come help. You know.
If if I have somebody assigned to me as an officer of a station, and I hear an individual saying that they don't care about brotherhood, or brotherhood doesn't mean it to them, or they don't give into it, I don't want you on my crew that day. You're a liability.
Hmm.
Okay, you're missing the point. You're missing what makes us crawl down a dark hallway together into something very, very, very nasty.
Right.
And if you don't care about the brotherhood, what are you going to do for my guy who's beside you on a search? Okay, so that terrifies me that someone says that and like, oh, that's a horrible mindset. That's if that's how you think, why are you here?
Right.
Because you can go make more money doing something else that doesn't require brotherhood, but they go hand in hand.
Hmm.
So I've never understood that mindset.
So let's talk about, life's a crazy thing. Bad things happen, and
Yeah.
people make mistakes. People handle situations incorrectly, and they do put us in a light where we were talking about earlier. We question everything. We're like, man, when is enough enough? What would you tell somebody that has been put in a bad situation, or has been, the administration has done them in the wrong way? How do you focus on the mission? How do you stay clear of the negativity and focus on the positivity? Because at the end of the day, there are bad apples, but that doesn't make the tree bad. It just means that they were bad apples.
Correct. So the way I look at it is this is something I tell my men, and I try to abide by myself. Stay out of the gossip. Okay,
Mm,
gospel will ruin a firehouse. Gospel will ruin an individual's career and mindset. All right. What other things I always go to? My good little go-to things that my guys love is I'll say when someone says something, "Hey, so and so says something about you," and I'm like, "Look, I'm not worried about somebody's opinion that I didn't go to for advice in the first place.
right.
I don't care about that. But deal with what you can deal with." Lieutenant Moody, for you and I, for our crew at the time, was fantastic because his mindset was, don't worry about outside distractions. Worry about what affects his company. Everyone else would take care of itself. Don't worry about that. If it doesn't come in your circle of influence, don't worry about it. It's a distractor. Don't worry about that. People are going to say stuff. All you kids nowadays say, "Hey, haters and haters." All right. If you're not doing anything, no one's going to hate on you.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's the people that are doing stuff, because what they get afraid of is that, well, that guy's doing something good, and if people notice him doing this, well, they might expect that out of me, and I don't want any part of that. That means I
Right.
got to get out of my comfort zone at work. So if you just handle yourself, control your actions, control your reactions to something,
Hmm.
you know, and handle whatever you thought the fire was about. Do that. Run the calls to the best of your ability. Get yourself prepared mentally and emotionally for the job. You know, our job can swing on a dime. You know that.
Hmm.
We're the only thing that can go from toe pain, tummy hurts, flu symptoms. I've been sick for 2 months to commercial fire, 12 victims trapped.
Yeah. Just like that.
You can leave the hospital and that's the call you get. So if you're not prepared for that, you're you're not going to be very good. So you got to be
Right.
able to handle that emotion. That's one of the things that makes us so wonderful in this line of work.
Yeah.
That's how it
It,
compares us to operators.
it's one of those things that resembles the thought process of if you're not if your ability to handle, I guess what I'm saying is not every action needs a reaction, right? And and
Correct.
and and that's emotional discipline. It's the fire service is full of people who like to stir the pot, who like to throw dynamite and then run, right? And I think for anybody that's in a bad place, to circle back, or has been on the short end of the stick or up shit's creek without a paddle, understand that not every action needs a reaction. And sometimes the best the best revenge is showing people that they were wrong the entire time,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, I think we've all in our career been put in a spotlight where they're trying to display a certain side of us that's not real, right? And
Right.
they put us in a corner where our actions will determine are they right or are they wrong. I've had the distinct pleasure with you, brother, to you've been an angel of mine my entire career, right? And when I started, you were on the Alpha shift and I was on Charlie shift, and I had a rough bout. I'm a misunderstood dude, and
You did.
the way I approach things are not the best the first go round. But you always believed in me, right? And I always tried to never let my mistakes define me. So I think like everything that you've always taught me is progress is perfection, right? Like people try to be perfect, but perfect doesn't exist. But as you progress, you're getting closer to perfection. You're getting closer to that goal. And I think that's the best advice I would give people that are in a bad spot. Don't let them tag a title on you. We all have the pen to our own book. You could change your story at any given time. But if you
Mm-hmm.
if you play that victim mindset, there's no brotherhood. Just being negative. That's the story. That's the story you created. So let's talk about the story of you never riding a fire truck again and you not letting that narrative come to reality.
So it hasn't happened. A lot of people said that I was done. Especially people that came and visited and saw me crumpled up in a bed, not moving, hooked to machines and stuff like that. Because it was touch and go for a while, as you all know. The little video that the little bite that had me walking out stand up out the wheelchair outside in Ocala Regional when I was in ICU that was on the Fit to Fight fire one. People are like, "Oh wow," and I'm like, "You don't understand. That was a good day. You were there. You saw me. You were by my side quite a lot for this endeavor, and and people don't understand that was a good day." So the thing about it was like when someone told me you're not going to be able to do that, I've always been a little guy, so I was like, "Oh really?
He's
Oh,
fucking he,
is that really? That's what you think? Yeah. Well, screw you. I'm gonna show you." How I made it through the recon pipeline was that a sergeant looked at me, and I was a bigger guy, probably a little bit shorter than you, but built like you. Looked at me and giggled, smiled, and said, "You're not going to last." And I was like, "This guy doesn't know me. What do you mean I'm not going to last? I'm going to make it. Never met me before. Like this is the first time you ever laid eyes on me. And this is what you think." So my whole thing was, all right, cool. I'm going to show you, and I did. Graduation time, he turned and told me, he goes, "Do you remember I told you day one?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I did that for a reason. I figured you needed something." He goes, "Some people respond to motivation, some people respond to hate." He goes, "I thought you were a hate kind of guy." So I was like, all right, and it worked. So anyways, so I got told that, hey, things are still touch and go. Still have numb spots or else my hands and stuff like that. So we're still working on that, but I'm getting better. And then it was told to take it a little easy on some stuff. Man, I went full speed in therapy. The therapist couldn't keep up with me. The thing about it was every time we would do an exercise, we go, "Do you want to make it harder?" My answer was yes.
Right.
So I do it again. Next one, do you want to make that one harder? Yes. Finally, I told the therapist, I said, "Look, whenever you tell me Do you want to make it harder? The answer is always going to be yes. There's never going to be
Right.
a no. If you tell me, all right, we're going to scale the outside the building, we're going to do it. If that's what you tell me to do, we're going to do it. You know, I'm like, but the rule is once we get to that level, we don't go back down. This is now
Mm,
level zero. We keep going. They thought that was phenomenal because they don't get that.
you're right.
So here I get back to the work now, and I'm feeling better now. So I look pretty good. People that see me are like, man, you look great. Unfortunately, I've done a lot to still maintain a little bit of muscle and stuff like that, start to come back a little by little. But there's physical limitations set on me by the surgeon and by what could happen. So
Right.
the problem we have right now is even though of the fortification in my neck, my cervical spine is fused in all the way around, like it looks like Wolverine when you look at the X-ray. Um,
Okay.
it's pretty impressive. So it's stable. The problem is I have one little shock absorber left in there. So what my surgeon's worried about is if we're inside hooking ceiling, and someone hooks down a bunch of ceiling, a big piece of ceiling comes down and hits me in the head. The weighs X amount of weight is just imagine anything, and it just lands right. It could crush my neck more and crush move that spinal cord again, and I could be paralyzed or die.
Mm,
So you can't think about that. I mean, it's just one of those to go, okay, or it could not.
right.
It could be okay, like
Right.
So I have to balance it and figure out what we're going to do and else. But my mindset is still not going to a fire truck because that's my goal. I want to get back on a fire truck. I want to sit beside my man, and I want to go kick ass again.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
want to unleash those hounds and let my men do what they do and have me right beside them,
Right.
being proud of them. That's what I want.
Right. So let me ask you something. Where did you get this mindset of I want hard? And I think that's why we thrive. Guys, there's a picture right above. That's me, 6'2", 5'1", and then Captain Moody, Chief Moody, 5'7", Emilio, rest in peace, 5'2", and then Tommy King, he's about 6 foot, he's a stud as well. But let's
Well,
talk
by the way,
about
I was an
that.
inch taller than Emilio. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, right. Let's talk about how where does this mindset come from of wanting hard, right? What's your thought process on that? Because the society we live in today, comfort is growth, apparently, because there's so many
Yeah.
people that are so comfortable. So let's talk about what your thought process is on hardship.
Well, so life isn't going to be handed to you. Life is hard. Okay, success isn't going to be handed to you. We talk about different things. We talk about motivation and confidence and this and that, and that's great. But you have to understand something. The hillside of Mount Everest is littered with the bodies of confident, motivated people. All right, but when it started getting hard, it'll break down. So you've got to
Hmm.
manually fortify your body and your mind to say, okay, I can endure this, because one thing the Navy SEALs, Special Ops, Recon, Berets are really good at is saying, "Hey, your body can go farther if your mind tells it to."
Yeah.
All right, your brain sets the tone for everything else. So if you steel your mind to the fact that failure isn't going to become that easy, it won't.
Hmm.
So you have to end up do these different things in your mind. Like we said, life is hard. You're going to create hardships, divorces, deaths, suicides, all these different things are going to come into play in your life. No matter who you are, these things are going to happen at some point in time in your life. All right, it doesn't pick and choose. You're going to end up with this. You have to overcome that. All right, it could be an injury, it could be cancer, whatever it is. You have to work to overcome that. So if you just let it consume you and say, I'm done, you're right. You are in every aspect of it.
Hmm.
All right. Then you're just going to sit on the couch and just be woe is me. There's a picture I want to find. I found on one of my friends had it on the social media. And it's a cartoon. It's two people on a train and they're going around a mountain. They're going on a mountain. There's one guy sitting on the inside, and he's got his face turned to the inside of the mountain. So all he sees is rocks and dark and dim, and he's down there now, and looking, like, oh God, this is like life sucks. The other guy's sitting in the other seat on the outside of the train, looking the outside. He sees sky and mountains and this and that. and he's happy. All you got to do is, all this other person do is just turn 180 degrees, and you've got that. And even though it's just a simple, stupid little cartoon, man, it spoke volumes of just people in our society. They'll choose this one way because they think that's all there is.
Mm-hmm.
And being a victim's easy because you can blame someone else for your actions.
Right.
So ownership is the hard part. Getting better is the hard part. It takes work.
Right.
You know,
But on the other side of that, work is fulfillment. And
100%.
that's what people don't equate hardship to. And these are the same people that are depressed. These are the same people that I don't have a purpose. Well, no shit, you don't have a purpose. All you're choosing is to be comfortable. And there's no
Mm-hmm.
purpose or fulfillment in comfort, right? Comfort is the enemy. It's just that simple.
Mm-hmm.
And the society we live in, we're being indoctrinated to believe that everything will be figured out and that other people will solve your problems. And unfortunately, that's the farthest thing from the truth. And that's a direct correlation to the fire service. I mean, all these people that are anti-brotherhood are the same people that don't take accountability, don't take ownership of their life and change the story.
The mediocre always operate at their 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
Yeah, always, always. So,
You
one
know,
last thing before we end this, Tony. What is your definition of brotherhood? What is your viewpoint?
brotherhood to me encompasses a whole lot of things. All right, is when brotherhood for me is when I get experiences, I teach you that experience. Okay, I share that with you. I take care of my wing if I'm a senior guy. If I'm a younger guy, I look to the senior guy for leadership and listen to the things he says. I seek out that knowledge. Seeking out lieutenants that don't have a lot of turnover. They don't have a lot of drama in their firehouse. They're always working. They're always dirty. Um, that look to go into jobs, that kind of stuff. There's the aspect of brotherhood on that part of it. The other part of it is um, that strong personality who wants to get better. You see them out there getting better, all right? Because they're getting better for not only themselves, but better for you. Um, things that for me for brotherhood was this: I was never the biggest, strongest, fastest, or else, okay? But I always viewed it as the fitness side of it, and the brotherhood part for me was getting stronger and being in shape was I don't want to be the guy that's a liability.
Mm,
Okay, that puts you in harm's way. I don't want you have to assemble a RIT team to come get me because I was out of shape. I didn't perform to my level that was expected. So there's my part of brotherhood on that. Just putting everybody else before you and joining hands on when they're in need. And
right.
then
Well, and
all the
go ahead.
traditions and all the traditions that we have, abide by those. They're important.
They are important. They were set before us for a reason. And service above self, but understand, guys, that you yourself have to show up an asset, right? So service above self only is applicable when you have showed up ready and able. Because, like he just said, you want to show up as an asset and not a liability. And a lot of us are showing up not an asset, serving everybody else at a very low level or mediocre level, and that's unacceptable, right? It just there's no room for mediocrity in the fire service. And unfortunately, we have a lot of occupied space with that mindset, and I think all we can do is influence people with our actions. And brother, your influence, if no matter what happens, is unbelievable, man. You have changed my life. You're a mentor of mine. You're a friend. You're a brother, and I thank you. I thank you for everything you've done for me. And yeah, man.
Do you want to strive to be a fireman or do you want to continue to be an employee? That's up to you.
Right. So before we end this, what's the difference between a fireman and an employee?
So fireman is someone who seeks to be better at the job, the trade, the craft, seeks out in every single way from different personalities and everything else, goes, travels, goes, takes classes, betters himself, educates himself on everything that is the fire service. All right? An employee is the guy that shows up, gets a t-shirt, gets assigned gear, doesn't like being in it, you know. Um, dreads have to put on bunker gear again. Oh God, I got to put this on for an alarm. It's probably nothing. I'll just put my bunker pants around my knees. If we get there and pull them up and get dressed, that's an employee. The guy that looks at his watch and says, "Hey, I can't wait to go home at 8 o'clock in the morning because I want to go to my other job that I enjoy doing more." That's an employee.
So you heard that first, folks, from Anthony Gillan. Don't be an employee. Strive to be a fireman every day. And if you're a woman, it's still the same thing. Strive to be that person that's passionate,
Yeah.
that person that is 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 looked up to as a lighthouse, is somebody who wants to always progress forward and be better. Tony, thank
Yep.
you for coming on, bro. I appreciate you. We're gonna have you on again because there's so much I want to talk about. But thank you, bro. Again, seriously.
I love you, bud.
Love you.